Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm the host, and today I have with me my amazing and beautiful significant other and co-host, Deborah Michas.
Hello.
And today we'll be talking about Rock N Lobster Roll Food Truck. Again, that's Rock N Lobster Roll Food Truck. And today, representing them is the owner and founder, Andrew Harris, and his lovely wife, Mallory.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So Mallory's a huge podcast fan, so we're actually putting her on her own podcast a little bit here. So this is pretty exciting.
She's blushing. A little shy, but she'll warm up.
She's an introvert, but she'll come around.
It's a truth.
I know, at least we aren't recording it with a video. That's the part that I get a little bashful about. We're okay on the mic, but recording it through video, I'll freeze. You won't even, my hands freeze, my body freezes, my eyes get real wide. So we're never going to do that on the podcast, at least anytime soon, so the audience knows. But so tell us a little bit about yourselves. What brought you to start a food truck venture?
So I have been in the restaurant industry for about 17, 18 years now. It started back when I was about 17, graduated high school, and basically didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and my mom said, go get a job or get out of my house. So I had a friend of mine was working as a dishwasher at a local French restaurant in Milwaukee called the Riverside Restaurant. And he was like, hey, we're looking for another employee. Do you want to come on board? And I was like, yeah, might as well. I got nothing better to do. Could use some money. And went in there and met up with this chef. His name was Thomas Pichon, an old school hippie guy. And I think he's actually still cooking today. He was like 60 when I started there. But yeah, he brought me on as a dishwasher. And I think, just for my first day at that place, I just loved everything about the restaurant industry. I loved the camaraderie of the kitchen and the people, that were in there that were all, pot smoking alcoholics, with no ambition, just loved cooking. And I was like, geez, I fit right in with these guys. So I just fell in love with the industry right away. And, just went from, kind of expressed my interest to the guys working there about, learning some more. And they kind of moved me around to different spots in the restaurant. And, I spent a couple of years there and decided to take go further, and went to culinary school and got out of culinary school and, just worked for other people for years and years and years. And I mean, I felt like I was finally ready to just launch my own business. And that's how we got the food truck idea.
So did you work all different types of positions? Were you working front of the house, back of the house? Or did you basically, after culinary school, just straight into cooking and nothing else?
Right after culinary school, it was basically all back of house. And I took one job that was a front of house job about 9-10 years ago, because I felt like it was vital, for my career to kind of learn both sides of it if my dream of being a restaurant owner were to actually come to fruition. So I did take a front of house job at a bar here in Denver and kind of learned some cool things from that as well, the ins and outs of the front of the house and the liquor aspect of it and everything. So yeah, we decided to kind of just put that all together into one business.
And so how did you get from Milwaukee to Denver then?
So when I was living in Milwaukee, the food scene was just not exciting at all. And I think it's actually come around a little bit more now, but I had some friends move out to Denver, and I just came to visit them one year, and I just fell in love with the city. And there was just the restaurant.
It is awesome.
Yeah, there was just so many restaurants, so much opportunity. And I was like, if I really want to take my career forward, I should probably get somewhere where there's a big food scene, So I just one summer just picked up and got into a U-Haul and brought whatever little furniture and clothes I had and got an apartment here in Denver and just found a job right away, and it just kind of picked up from there.
Okay, so Mallory, I want to make you speak. So where do you come into the picture? At what point do you two meet, and how did you guys get involved?
So Andrew and I met almost 5 years ago. November will be 5 years. I was working at the Dumb Friends League. And my supervisor at the time was one of Andrew's really good friends. And one day I just asked her if she had any really nice guy friends. She asked me what I was looking for, and I said I liked bearded, tattooed boys that liked hockey and that were really funny and just kind souled. And so a couple days later, I went and met Andrew, and we started dating like immediately.
So you basically met the whole list.
Yeah.
Basically.
For sure.
Well, that's good.
And then we got married this last October in Wisconsin.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And to know someone that you described and then found, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So then you've met each other, obviously. So what came first, the marriage or the food truck?
Food truck came first, but Mallory and I, clicked on, she had been in the hospitality industry for many, many, many years. She came from Pennsylvania about 7 years ago.
7, yeah.
And she had worked front of the house for basically her entire, restaurant career. So it was kind of like we took this, part of, to start our business. She had experience in the front of the house. I had experience in the back of the house, and we kind of, merged together and started this company. So it was just cool that it worked out that way. She understands, the business just as well as I do. Mm-hmm. And we can always, bounce ideas off each other. And,
okay, so Andrew, you do this full time.
This is
right?
my full time. Yep.
And Mallory, you also still work at the Dumb Friends League, correct?
Yeah, so I work at the Dumb Friends League, and then on my days off, I'm on the food truck.
So as a couple, how do you guys manage that? Because, food trucks, obviously you guys have kind of crazy hours and weekends, and so a lot of time on the truck?
My full-time job is obviously the food truck, and I'm working, my life is dedicated to this truck. It's 6 to 7 days a week, 12 to 13 hours a day, and my day starts a little bit later than Mallory's does, but she works from about 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and her job is not the easiest emotionally for her.
Sure.
And I get home, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We just try to spend every waking moment that we can be together with each other, just because it's just so hard to find time.
Right.
To spend with each other, and like we were saying before, this is our day off together, and we'll be around each other, every second of the day that we can find time to be with each other. It's definitely challenging, and she's definitely supporting my dream,
right?
And she's very, very helpful and supportive, and you couldn't ask for someone better to help you through this crazy ride.
Well, that's good. Team effort. I love that.
Yeah.
You hear from entrepreneurs. It really is a team effort. And whether it's one person at home juggling home life and the other person doing the entrepreneurial thing, or them collectively finding balance in that. And so it sounds like you guys have a little bit of both, actually.
Yeah, it's great. We're a great team. We always say we're the best team for each other.
We work really well on the food truck together.
Yeah, we work very, very well together.
You kind of have to. Very small space.
It's a very, very small space, yes.
It could go poorly pretty.
And so do you guys still keep it, Mallory, your front of the house, and Andrew, your back of the house?
On the cold days, we like to switch it up, and I'll cook.
That's a good
otherwise
idea.
I'm frozen at the window.
She could do the whole job without me if I wasn't
Right.
there.
No.
Okay.
She's
So
trained in the whole thing.
where can people find the truck? Where are your common spots, and then what are other things you float between, and events you look forward to every year, and that type of
Sure.
stuff?
So we try to go as all over, wherever we can. We go into Centennial, Denver, Aurora. We just started making our way down to Castle Rock. We come out to Littleton as well. So we have a pretty much, our schedule's it's
full
a rotating
time.
schedule. It's like it's full, yeah. We kind of go places bi-weekly. We have the breweries that we like to do, and we do caterings and stuff. But, all our full schedule can be found on our website, and on our Facebook page. We try to post pretty regularly.
Why don't you plug your locations people can find you in terms of
sure.
your Instagram and
Sure. You mean as far as the locations are,
Or the breweries, or where
sure.
you guys go?
Yeah, we go into Golden. We go to New Terrain Brewing Company in Golden. We go to Brews Beers, which is kind of Adams County, like 67th and Pecos area.
Okay.
I believe it's a little bit more north towards Westminster.
Great.
We go to Centennial area. We go to Lone Tree Brewing Company, Resolute Brewing Company. That's in Centennial. Halfpenny Brewing Company in Centennial. 222 Brew is another big one for us. That's also Centennial, Aurora-ish area. Comrade Brewing in Denver, kind of the Glendale area. We go to St. Patrick's, which I believe now is Blind Faith Brewing Company here in Littleton. Living the Dream Brewing in Littleton. There's just so many to name.
Right.
So, yeah.
You're all over the place.
Yeah, we're definitely all over the place.
So how did you come up with the name and why lobster?
So
it's delicious.
Lobster is delicious. It's just one of those things that you just can't find here. So when I had the idea of starting a truck, we definitely wanted to like stand out from, not to bash them. Like there's just taco trucks all over Denver. There's pizza trucks all over Denver. It's like, what can we do? Wings, burgers. I mean, what can we do to be different? And lobster's just not a thing that you find here. Like really good fresh Maine lobster. And I mean, it was like we thought we'd just give it a shot, see how people would respond to it. I mean, we just didn't know if people would know what it is.
Right.
I mean, and obviously, our price tag is a little bit higher, than the taco trucks and the burger.
Right. Your
trucks
ingredients are higher.
Yeah. Because we order in our product straight from Maine. It's overnighted, and then immediately cooked, broken down and portioned, and it's quite the task to get it all done. And I think that's why a lot of people don't do it here, is because you really have to like do a lot of research to get the correct product and get it in and build relationships with the people on the East Coast and make sure you're preparing those products correctly. It's not as easy, just dropping it in water. I mean, there's timing and preparation. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
Well, and also you don't want, your food costs, you don't want to have any waste because the ingredients are expensive. Right. And so you want to make sure you're really managing that.
And that's one thing that's really, our truck sells out of food almost every day. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, we're scheduled, for about 4 hours a day during the week and about 7 hours on the weekends. And it's a give. I mean, if you're going to come to our truck 30 minutes before our close, you're pushing your luck because there's a chance that you're probably not going to get our food, just because we sell out of it so much. I mean, and it's great. It's a good thing because we don't like to sit on fresh products for more than one day. Right.
So what's like a day in the life? I mean, because you have to do your prep work, and you're probably not prepping on the truck, while you're cooking. That's all got to be done.
So we wake up really early, and our delivery comes. And we take it straight to our commissary kitchen and get it in the water and cooked and broken all down and portioned out. And then, that happens early in the mornings. And then we start, getting ready all the other ingredients for the day, all the cheeses that we use. We make our fresh cheese sauce, for our lobster mac and cheese, and get all our other things portioned out. I know I'm kind of rambling right now.
No, it's awesome, and I really want you to get into
details.
What's in your menu.
There's a lot.
Tell us your menu.
Yeah, they have
keep
grilled
going.
cheese, with the lobster in it. And I'm like, well, that sounds delicious.
Yeah. So we do lobster grilled cheese, lobster mac and cheese. We just started doing these like crab cake bites. Yeah, those have been pretty good. We sold out of those in like 2 days, so now we know we got to do more.
I never got to try that.
She never got to try
what?
I know.
I was excited.
We order on whoopie pies as well. That's kind of like an East Coast traditional dessert. A chocolate cake with like a vanilla filling, buttercream filling.
Do you do it from scratch?
We order that in from Maine, and actually I think a lot of the East Coasters out here prefer that. It's a company called Wicked Whoopie. And we have people that say, you have whoopie pies. Is it Wicked Whoopies? And we're like, yes, it is. And they're like, yes. All right, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I actually grew up on the East Coast in Maryland, so we're more crabs than lobster. But I do know the whoopie pies. And I do know that every time I went north up into New England, man, you had to have one. And I totally forgot about it until you just said it. And now I'm like, we're going to have to order some for the house, Deborah, as soon as we're off this podcast.
I don't think I've ever had a whoopie pie.
You guys.
Okay. Being from Colorado.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go hunt down the food truck, have lobster.
There you go. Perfect.
We'll set them aside for you.
Awesome.
So how did you come up with the menu items? Do you change your menu, or do you find things that are successful, or you try to grow it? I mean, you're trying to figure out waste, right? So you're trying to use every part of the lobster you can.
So we have our standard menu, things that we keep year round, and then our kind of philosophy on the whole thing is take those East Coast dishes, those traditional dishes, and then put a really cool street food twist on it, because at the end of the day, we're selling food off a food truck, you know, and we're not trying to sell this white tablecloth, you know, dining experience. You know,
Right.
this is street food, and we just like to take that, you know, those traditional dishes and put that cool street food twist on it. So like, you know, you go to a restaurant, you order, you know, a crab cake, and it's served, you know, on a nice white plate on a tablecloth, you know. But we were like, no, let's make these into like little bites that fit into a paper boat, you know, that you can dunk into a sauce, and you know.
Right.
And then, you know, we do our lobster tacos, which is a really, really popular item, and our lobster grilled cheese, and we do both our rolls and our lobster mac and cheese, which is a big heaping bowl of just, you know, freshly made lobster mac and cheese. It's so good.
Yeah.
That's one of our most popular items right now, actually.
Deborah, I think I want to forewarn you, I'm going to order everything on the menu.
He does that. We actually go out to eat, and you know, I'm like, oh, I can't decide if I want this or this, and I always want him to, like, you know, form a pact of like how we're going to eat and what we're going to order. And so what ends up happening is I tell him the things that I'm thinking about, and I'm always like, what are you going to get? And he's like, oh, game, you know, last minute decision. I'm not making the decision.
Yeah,
and then what
I don't
happens
want our input. Is
is
what
then
happens.
the waitress comes and he orders it all.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, why'd you order like 4 entrees? There's 2 of us. And he's just like, because it all sounds good. Like, let's just try it.
I respect that a lot.
Right?
If you don't know what you want, get several. Yeah, I like that.
You can tell who the creative one is in this entrepreneur partnership, and who like the business minded, keep the train on the tracks relation.
Yeah.
Who's the one behind the podcast all the time, and who's the one keeping it on track? Deborah?
Actually, we both have both of those.
Yes, we
For
do.
sure.
We both have our creative
And-
side and our business side for sure, or whatever task at hand side. But so let's rewind back a little bit, because it's not easy to start a food truck. I mean, you have to design it, you have to wrap it. You know, what was all that like, and how did you know what you wanted on the truck? And I mean, it had to be a tough time, because you're trying to start this business and you're ready to get it started, but you got to wait for the damn food truck to be done.
So I can tell you a very, very interesting story that I'm sure a lot of locals here in Denver can relate to. We had this. I started this idea in about early 2016 to launch this food truck. And so we went to a local company here in Denver they were called Denver Custom Food Trucks, and they were off in the Rhino area. And so we looked them up, and we looked at their Facebook reviews, and they had some decent reviews. And I drove down there, and I met the owners, and I asked them, how much does it cost to build a food truck? What's the time frame? What are other people doing? And so they told me it would cost about $32,000 to get a food truck, and they can have it done in about a month. So I said, okay, great. Thank you for this info. And then they took my name and number down, and, I went back and did some research, and about food truck, and what kind of revenue they're pulling in, and, how they do it. I mean, how do you get permits to park on the street? I mean, there's just so much licensing. I mean,
So
health inspections.
can I interrupt you 1 second?
Sure.
So you said 32,000. I'm actually a little bit surprised by that number, because
the story gets interesting.
Okay, because I'm like, that's a vehicle. I mean, we have commercial kitchens. That's the equipment. I'm like, you can buy a single
story
piece
gets
of equipment
interesting.
for that
That's
much.
a very, very false number.
Okay.
So we went back to them and said, okay, let's pull the trigger on this and build this truck. And they said, great. They said it'll take 90 days. And I said, great, no problem. So I said, well, okay, well, do I pay you at the end, or how does it work? And they said, well, we'll take half the money now and half at the end. But I had not even seen the vehicle, the vessel, that is going to go in. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give you, $6,000 now, and I'll give you another $10,000 when I see the vehicle. I want to test drive it, have a mechanic look at it. I mean, these things are old FedEx trucks. You don't know what kind of condition they're going to be in.
Right.
And he says, okay. So I give him a check for $6,000, and I should have cut my losses at that point, because they had me make it out to a specific individual, and I won't say his name because I know there's big lawsuits and stuff going on right now. But I cut out a check to him, and they cashed it immediately. And I went back about 2 weeks later. I hadn't heard anything, and I said, can we go see this truck?
Right.
So I got in the guy's car and he drove me out to some abandoned lot in Commerce City where there was just this lot of like buses and trucks and everything. And
Oh my God.
we
Did your heart sink at that point?
well, no, because at that point I was just so excited about the whole thing, and I was like, oh, cool, like which one can I, look at, which one can I play with, which one can I drive?
Right.
So he was like, yeah, this one's really good, it has low mileage, it has air conditioning on it, and I was like, okay, great, and I drove it around the lot, and I was like, yeah, it sounds good, it looks good, let's start with this one, and he said, okay. And that was, I think, in April of 2017.
Yeah.
When I finally, when I saw that, and then just, so I gave him another check for 10 grand, and I was like, great, 3 months, I'll be checking in every now and then to see what's going on, and and I continued to get my business ready. I had a logo made and drawn up, and
we figured out where we wanted to do our like grand opening and like had a start date.
I handed out my business cards to breweries all over the city, started making a schedule, got a Facebook page launched, got a website made, put my whole schedule on it. Everything was like a go, except we had no truck. So
You're like, we had a great food truck business, just no food truck.
Just no food truck, right?
I assume you participated. Go ahead.
Sorry, he had
No.
like 1,200 followers on Facebook before we even
started.
opened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I started going back to the place, Denver Custom Food Trucks, to see, what the progress on my truck. And every time I went back there was just nothing had been done. And the guy just kept reassuring me, like, oh, don't worry, we'll get it done. We're just a little bit behind. Everything will be fine. And I was like, okay. And then I went back another time, talking to the guys, like, who's going to wrap my truck? Like, how does this work? And he's like, oh, we have this guy here that does it. He'll make a design for you. And then that never happened. And I just kept going back and back. And then, eventually in like May or early June, they said, oh, we have to move to a new location. We're moving to a new warehouse in Commerce City. And I said, okay. He's like, so that's going to delay it a little bit because we have to move all the equipment and everything. I'm like, all right, man. I mean, whatever you got to do, just please make sure this.
You're just like a good, nice, honest guy, like
Yeah,
trusting him.
and their operation looked very legit. They had
right.
trucks all
Time
over.
going there.
There's always someone working on something. I mean, it just looked like a great operation.
Right.
People were going in and out all the time. So now we're in, late June, early July. They're in this new location, and we're opening on July 29, 2017, and it's July 1 now, and I still have no truck.
Oh my God.
So he's like, oh, don't worry, man. I can get this done in like 3 or 4 days. I'll just put enough manpower on it to get it done. I'm like, okay, man. Like, I'm starting to get a little nervous here.
And are you like communicating, like, I got an opening coming?
Yeah,
like,
I'm telling him
I've
all
been
this and
advertising it.
I'm advertising everything, and I'm like, I have this big grand opening where I'm expecting 200 to 300 people now. Like,
Right.
yeah, so I'm just waiting, and then, coincidentally enough, one day when Mallory and I were walking around town, we saw a sign for another place called Colorado Custom Food Trucks.
Right.
And she was like, you should just take a picture of that sign just to have it. And I did. And it had the company number on it and everything. And now we're like July 14. And I still have no truck.
Oh my God.
And
the heart attack that you're having every minute of every day.
I'm starting to have panic attacks. Like, I'm like, how is this going to get done? Like, and then you'd have to do scheduling with health departments, and I know they're 2 weeks behind, so it's like, okay, well, we're opening in 15 days and I don't have a truck yet. So I randomly,
not to mention, you need to like get in there, figure out how to work everything, play with everything. Like,
absolutely. We're really coming down to
how hot the thing cooks. How like
there's a lot of things that go into it.
Oh my God.
So I call this other food truck place, and some guy, his name was Chris. He answers the phone, and I say, "Hey man, how long does it take you guys to build a food truck?" And then without question, he said, "Let me guess, you're doing business with Denver Custom Food Trucks." And I kind of laughed, and I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he said, "How much money did you give him?" And I was like, "Where are you going with this?" And he says, "How much money did you give him?" I was like, "I gave him $16,000. And he's like, "You'll never get your money back, and you'll never get a truck." And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He's like, "This guy has been scamming people in Denver for years." He's like, he doesn't build you truck. He takes your money. He looks like he has a legit operation. They're really doing nothing. So I immediately picked up and drove to his place where he was building trucks. And he was actually, while I was there was about 2 or 3 other people in his building that shared the same story with me about how they'd Gave him money. Yeah, it was like the most. It's like a knife went through my heart.
I'm sure. Like that's a lot of money to have to write off. And
so I went home that day and talked to Mallory about it. And I was like, what do I do? I mean, I'm already 16,000 into this. Like, what can I do? And we just both decided that we have to get something somehow, some way. We have to do something.
Right.
So I went back to this Colorado custom food trucks place, the good place, the next day, and I was like, look, here's what I'm dealing with right now. How much does it cost? Can you get it done in 2 weeks?
Right.
And they said they can get it done. They actually spend a lot of time helping people that have been scammed by this other guy. So
talk about one business model benefiting off of someone else's assholeness, to use the word bluntly.
Yeah, it was like
sure.
I mean, I was so they told me to build a truck costs about $50,000, and I was like, okay, so those numbers make a little bit more sense to me. He's like, he basically lowballs these numbers until it gives you a number to bring you in, to suck you in, because when you do your price comparison shopping, it's like, oh, I'll go with the cheaper, I'll go with the cheaper guy. Because when you're starting a business, obviously every penny is important.
Of course.
So we drained everything and gave him the $50,000. And I was at this place every day from morning till night watching them work on this truck. Because I mean, just so paranoid.
Of course. You had, been burned.
So paranoid. And they literally, I think they started construction on it on like July 15, 16, and my truck was in for inspection on July 28, and I opened on July 30.
Oh my
Passed inspections with like flying colors. Literally just like did all the prep the day before, like had all the lobster flown in, did all the and the day before was my birthday too, so I spent my entire birthday just like over a stove, just like all I want for my birthday is a successful opening. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Well, you did the work to make it possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank God for that guy.
Well, and it's funny now is that this place, Denver Custom Food Trucks, they, the district attorney. So I took my case to a radio show where they were talking about them, and the host told me, he's like, you're like our 10th caller in the last year.
Whoa.
About this guy. He's like, there is a lawyer in Boulder that is working on this case. You should reach out to him. So I did, and then the lawyer, it ended up being with the district attorney's office, and they were reaching out to me, and I gave them all the receipts that I had and everything. And just about a week ago, it went to trial, and the two business partners had to pay back $4.5 million to all the people they scammed out.
Oh my God. Although, how good of you to actually, it sucks that you got drawn into that and you had to whatever, but it's also amazing that you ended up that, you don't normally hear about justice, a lot of times, it doesn't seem fair.
It took a long time. I mean, because I've been open now for almost 2 years, so it took about a year and a half for something to actually happen. And I used to talk to other people, that got scammed by them. And I'm like, how did these guys do it for so long? How did they get away with it for so long? And people told me, they would threaten your family and your life if you called the police or, came after them or anything. But yeah, justice has finally been served. Do I think, they'll...
So will you actually get money back?
I don't think so.
No? So where's the money go when they have to pay it?
I don't think they have it, honestly.
That's what we were wondering is if they don't have the money, then what happens?
I don't think they have it.
So are they...
It's like Bernie Madoff or whatever. He didn't have the money to pay back, even though the court declared he had to pay it all back.
But will there be jail time or something?
Borrow the money, you borrow the money from the local government or something, and you have to pay it back in installments or something. But these guys are so shady.
But even that's kind of funny. They're going to borrow money to pay back the court system. It's taking you out of one pocket, putting it in the other.
I heard a story about a guy that got drunk and accidentally burnt down a school, and he was sentenced to pay $1 million, and he didn't have it. So the local government lent him the money, and he paid back the school, and then he had to just pay back the government for the rest of his life.
Right, because I'm sure the interest on that was...
So now we really know why there's no drug use and alcohol at schools. It's not for the children. It's so someone doesn't burn down the place.
Yeah. But I mean, these guys are so shady. Like, I highly doubt any money will be handed out. I don't even think they have it. And if they do, they're hiding it. And if they are hiding it, they'll pick up and just leave the country, I'm sure.
This is the thing, right? Like, think of how many times you talked with that group and that guy and whatever. Mm-hmm. And if that guy put that much energy into being a businessman, he'd probably be successful. You know what I mean? Like, instead of being a shady dude trying to scam people, like, he could actually do the work and make money.
I think their biggest problem is that they were promising way more than they could deliver, and they're basically just taking on new clients all the time without being able to do it. And I mean, they might have started off as a good company and then just the food truck scene here is so popular right now. I mean, the guy that I go to, if I ever have a little problem with the truck, he fixes it up right away. I mean, they're all there. And they're called Colorado Custom Food Trucks. The owner's name is James, and I'm going to give him a shout out right now because he saved my life. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thanks, James. And Justin's always really good about putting notes and stuff in when he posts all the podcasts. And so he'll be sure to do that and hashtag him and stuff too. So he gets,
But these guys, I mean, they're always having trucks being built. I mean, always building trucks. And you just wonder, like, where are all these trucks going? It's crazy. And it's like, I mean, when you're a good businessman, and you charge $50,000, I mean, they obviously built my truck out really quickly. They were staying late at night, past their operating hours.
It's amazing they did
pizza and beer.
I was bringing them pizza and beer every day.
You're so grateful.
Just to keep these guys motivated, too.
Right.
I mean, they're working 14-hour days just to help people like me, that got screwed over pretty bad.
That's really cool, though. Like as horrible as it is of what you had to go through, like to end up with someone who just so came to bat and stayed in the trenches with you to make sure you got to hit your timeline.
And they hooked Andrew up with the wrap company that did the food trucks wrap.
Yeah.
And they had a design Andrew chatted with them like a few times, and they had that perfect design.
There's a lot of things that had to happen to make sure this, basically from building the truck to having it wrapped to having an inspection to opening, there was a lot of things that had to fall, and like the stars and the moons all had to be aligned perfectly. And I mean, someone was looking down on me that week.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
And
we just haven't looked back since. It's just been so great ever since. And we were definitely very humbled opening the truck. We had been through so much before we had even started the business that it's like everything after that was like a cakewalk almost.
Except the grand opening was madness. We had no idea what was about to happen.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was like 250 people. So we did the grand opening at Comrade Brewing Company, which is kind of like one of the main breweries that we started with.
Right.
It's a cool brewery, big open space. But yeah, we packed that brewery. They were calling in bartenders because they were not prepared for what happened. Neither were we. We had no idea.
So how quickly did you run out of food?
We actually did okay that day. I was pretty well prepared for a busy day, but at the same time, we just didn't know what we were getting into. I didn't know if 20 people were going to show up or 4,000 people were going to show up. We had no idea. We had no soft open going into it. We just had no time. So there was no time to get the kinks out or anything. Right. So I got to the location about 2 hours early. My friend Nick, who I've known for years, he's a front of house, back house guy. He volunteered to help me out that day with the cooking in Mallory. Was working the window that day. And
it was the three of you?
It was just the three of us.
Oh my gosh.
There's not that much more room on there.
I guess that's true, but still, you're like, oh my gosh.
So yeah, we got there and we opened the window, and when we opened the window, there was just a line just down around the block, and we're like, oh my God. Here
we go.
and this is funny. This is the first time I ever turned on the flat top to that truck, and it just like went black immediately, just charred, and I was like, oh man, this is not good. So there was one area of the flat top that I had not turned on, so the carryover heat kind of went over to this like 5 square inch area.
Oh God.
And I was cooking for like 400 people off this like little corner on this flat top, just like tickets piled up, backed up. I think we had
Andrew's mom running food.
My mom was there running food to people.
The best British accent ever.
And we're just cooking up this little area, and just 40 tickets, 50 tickets just backed up, piled up, and I'm like, what have I gotten myself into now? But we got all the kinks out. We have a system. Obviously, everything's good. The flat top is not burning every day. It's all good.
Got it honed in.
Yeah, like I said, we were very, very humbled from the get-go.
Well, having the hard knocks at the beginning, really, it's almost, you know, people refer to starting an entrepreneurial business like drinking water out of a fire hose, but you really had,
Right.
I don't know what it would be like, because it's bigger than a fire hose. It'd be like a dam bursting.
Hundreds of people trying to feed them, and brand new truck.
Brand new truck. And
we just had no idea how popular we would be. I mean, in our
But that had to be a great feeling too. So as much as like it was like, oh my gosh, and stress, you're probably also like, this is going to be awesome.
I was like, what have I gotten myself into? This is a mess. How am I ever going to fix this? But then, you know, when you look back at it now, you're like, it's so worth it. And yeah, it is a good feeling to know that, you know, we have so many followers and so many great reviews and so many people come back, you know, multiple times a week to have our food. And I mean, it's just so awesome.
Yeah. And when I've asked around, Denver and trying to recruit for the podcast and stuff, everyone pointed me at you guys they're like, oh, but you know who would be really good on the podcast, and told me to reach out to you guys, which is why I direct message you on social media, because I'm like, okay, like there's all these other food trucks who want to be on the show, but they're all saying I need to interview these guys and this food truck.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, competition is a good thing, and they're like, wherever the Rock and Lobster roll goes, I'm never going to get it right. It's like a tongue twister for me, which is part of the fun, which we'll ask you about the name in a second. But it's kind of funny, because when you are one of the better ones, people want to, okay, they're attracting all these people, so if someone doesn't want lobster, I want that business that people don't want. It's like parking a Burger King next to a McDonald's. Why?
Right.
Because there's people that don't want McDonald's, but so you know, like
hotels do it too. You know, they all like bunch themselves together.
I shouldn't say the fast food thing, but you know, it's like Deborah and 3 members of our family like Taco Bell, and 1 member likes Chick-fil-A. So we got to kind of do the drive-through and Taco Bell and then hit Chick-fil-A on the way. And what ends up happening is I like both, so I get something from each place.
One,
But it's the same idea. So I just really complimenting what you guys are doing, because if people are willing to follow you or know that you're doing something right, it's kind of a cool idea.
It's pretty cool, you know, to have people, you know, in Denver that are from, you know, I have so many people. I must have met the entire population of Maine by now, because everyone says, oh, I'm from Maine, you know, I'm going to put you to the test. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. You know, we're going to give you what we give everyone else, you know. And they come back, they eat, and they come back, and they say, I mean, that's just as good as you can get at home, if not better. And the pricing is just on point. And it's just so awesome to hear that, you know. I mean, people that grew up, you know, this stuff is from their childhood, you know, and it's like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's just a great feeling to know that we're giving someone a true taste of home along the way. So
how'd you come up with a name then? I mean,
so we're, you know, I'm a music guy. I love rock and roll music, heavy metal music, and I was just trying to think. I always felt like food trucks need to have like a funny name. It can't just be like the burger truck, like, you know, burger restaurant, you know.
Yeah.
We can't just be the lobster truck. It's boring. What's that?
I was going to say, although I think people do call us just the lobster truck.
They do just call us the lobster truck. That's right. So I was just trying to like figure out a way that I could put, you know, the word lobster roll into something. And then one day I was just like, rock and roll, man. And I was like, Rock and Lobster roll. Oh my God, lobster roll is a thing. We should be Rock and Lobster roll. Yes, I found it. And I like stopped immediately and like texted her, and I was like, I got the name for the truck. It's Rock and Lobster roll.
And I thought it was too long.
She didn't like it at first, but it grew on her.
Well, I think it's great. Rock and Lobster roll definitely is a catchy name. And I just, the difference is key, because you are correct. And Deborah and I travel all over, and we're in the food business, and you see so many food trucks that get overlooked because the name's plain. They may have great food, but if they have a plain name, you know, it's... Yeah.
Our truck is very eye-catching. I think it's really important to have an eye-catching truck, you know. And my good friend Vince drew the logo for us. You know, he's a great tattoo artist. And, you know, when we were designing the outside of it, I was like, I just wanted to, you know, just pop out, make people on the road turn their head and see, you know. And so We're like, we want like this look of like an old Maine, like a rusty dock, like on Maine, with some like netting and traps, but just this big giant cartoon character on the side with this cool lettering. And yeah, it just came together. The first time I ever saw that truck completely done and wrapped, my jaw dropped. It was like the coolest day.
I'm glad you actually mentioned the tattoo artists, because there's a lot of food entrepreneurs and beverage entrepreneurs that actually turn to tattoo artists to draw their logo, because they really embrace the character of someone, because that's what they do for tattoos. They get to know someone and they draw the tattoo on their body. So there's a whole untapped resource out there. I think people that are listening in, like, really, like, I never thought about it, but then I've heard the podcast and all these people talk about it. I mean, I have a custom drawn tattoo on my back. There's no reason that it wouldn't work, and it's true to me, and he drew exactly what I was thinking and put his own twist in it. But like, it was amazing, and it's really good.
Can I plug him right now?
Yeah, plug him.
So his name is Vince Miller, and if my email is, on the link on this podcast, I will connect you to him for any. He's an amazing artist.
We both have tattoos from Vince, and they're incredible.
Yes.
And what and where does he work?
The shop he was just worked at had just recently closed, and I believe he's kind of looking for a shop right now. But he will. I believe he'll do drawings for people. Not just tattoo, and which I'm actually taking my logo right now and having Vince draw the Lobster Guy logo into some like different scenarios. I told him, make him fighting Godzilla somewhere, or have him coming out of the guy's stomach like in the movie Alien.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The claw, or have him fighting Darth Vader or something, something like that. And he just sent me some sketches. He sent me we don't have a name for the Lobster Guy yet. We're still trying to come up with one, but
it's a work in progress.
He drew the Lobster Guy in place of the baby on the Nirvana album cover, chasing the dollar bill in the pool. If you're familiar with that.
I'll push it if you do it, but I think it'd be funny to see what other people and your customers think the lobster should be called.
That's a good one. Do a poll.
Yeah. I'm just curious, because I'm trying to think of something and I can't think of it. It's hard. It's like,
I said classic movie scenes, or like he sent me a picture of him lighting the guitar on fire like Jimi Hendrix did. He's just so creative and such an amazing artist. So I definitely want to give him a shout out.
Well, and I love that you chose something and make it into a character. I think that's so important that people do that, because it's important in food and beverage now, and it's part of the story, and people attach that stuff. There's a whole reason McDonald's did so well with Ronald McDonald, Grummus, and the Hamburglar, right? Like, they're characters for kids, but they really tied you to the image. I can't think of McDonald's without Ronald McDonald, and normally clowns are pretty scary for me. So, but you're building a brand. Right. So
we have a lot of kids. Parents bring their kids to the breweries, and they see the truck and they point in and say Krabby Patty, and I think that's from SpongeBob or something. But yeah, the kids love it. They all point at it and laugh at it and everything, which is kind of cool.
Oh man, I wish I was more clever when it comes to stuff, but it usually comes to me later. But I mean, Lucky Lobster just comes to mind, but that's not even close to awesome. So there's got to be
the character name.
Yeah, character name.
Yeah, we're still working. We just decided the other day.
I think we want like a rock and roll twist on it. Somebody like super famous in rock and roll with like, I don't know. Still working.
Yeah, we're thinking about it.
Yeah, someone will come out there. I'm sure there's someone out there that'll come up with something creative. That'd be kind of fun, actually. And the person gets like a free sandwich or something or whatever.
If you have an idea, please just email me.
Yeah, email it. I'm going to post it on social media.
Winner gets a free lobster roll.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Or two. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But so tell me a little more about, so now you've got this character and you have these ideas and you're running sketches with it. So what's your idea? Where do you want to take it? Is it just to put out on marketing? Is it you're trying to look at more food trucks? Like, how are you looking to use that?
So I have, a bunch of T-shirts with just our logo on it that I wear every day of my life. And I was like, I just want something different on my shirt, So the idea was just to kind of put them on some shirts and then people could kind of catch their eye and maybe giggle about it a little bit, and maybe possibly one day sell the shirts to people, or I don't know. We're just
It'd be cool as stickers.
Yeah.
Oh
maybe
man,
plaster them around
you
town.
see over there, like anyone who doesn't know, we're in the studio, which is in my gym/garage, but I collect stickers all over our refrigerator and freezer. So when you have a sticker, I would definitely love one for my collection over there.
Yeah, we'll definitely get one to you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just something fun. I mean, the whole idea with my truck is it's about fun, you know. We just try to have fun with it. We want our customers to have fun, you know, while they're eating. I know that sounds kind of like cliche and goofy, but we just want people to, you know, enjoy their food, have a good time, not take it so serious. I mean, I take it seriously, but at the same time, you know, it's the street food, you know. People are drinking and eating food and just laughing it up and looking at our goofy cartoon character.
I think I actually think you're really on to something, and it builds, you know, character in t-shirts and hats these days, and people want stuff, and everyone's looking for their individual thing and how it relates to them and all of that. So I really I can't get my mind off of thinking about what the name should be. So I'm like totally obsessing as we're doing this podcast over it. But
I wish we could take phone calls right now.
I know. Hello, will you call in and give us a name? But seriously, if you guys are listening to this podcast, send names in direct message or post it on social media on one of their sites, and we'll make sure that they post something on social media, and I'll post something, because I think this is a kind of fun idea.
I'm actually, as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to do that immediately.
Yeah, and I'm going to repost it and letting everyone know the episode's coming soon, but I want to make sure that they respond as well, because I'm like fiending. What is it going to be? Like, tell me what it is.
Yeah, we just watched the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, the Queen movie, and I'm like, how could we name him after Freddie Mercury?
I know. I know, that's a great one, actually. I love that movie, by the way. It just was so inspirational for me, and I love all musicians. Actually, in case you guys didn't know, that's how I named it, Justin the Food Entrepreneurs. Is Deborah and I were joking around, and I was like, oh, you know, it's like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, or you know, something like that, or like Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, except everyone gets a chance to be Tito and Jermaine and be on stage. Right, so you know, it's like, and so that's how it all started. It just stuck in. And I actually just kind of threw it out there jokingly with a graphic and a logo that I threw together, and it kind of stuck faster than I could go and correct it or change it or adjust it. So I just left it alone. And but that's how stuff happens, right?
Yeah, it's just, you just sit around and just kind of think of these funny things, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, let's just go with it. It just works.
Oh, man, I wish I came up with some Lenny the Lobster. It's all still running through there. So I'm going to change the subject a little bit, just because I need to, because I can't stop obsessing over the lobster name. But so, you know, what are the next steps for you guys? What do you feel where are you going to take it? I mean, you're doing well, obviously. I can tell by your social media, and anyone who's not, who's in the podcast, quick tell them where they can find you guys, what your website is, social media, and then we'll answer that question.
So we have our website. It's www.rockandlobsterroll.net. So it's the ROCKNLOBSTER.net, Rock and Lobster Roll with an N, not an and. And then our Facebook page is you could just look up Rock and Lobster Roll. Instagram, same thing, just Rock and Lobster Roll. And we have a Twitter, but who uses Twitter anymore? I don't even know.
I think a lot of people do, but I'm in charge of it, and it's kind of...
I know. I just let it repost off of Instagram automatically.
I let her handle the Twitter.
I haven't figured out Twitter.
So yeah, our schedule is posted. We post our schedule on Instagram just about every Monday or Sunday or Monday. And then our website, there's a monthly schedule posted on it. And Facebook is posted weekly as well.
And okay, so then let's go back to my original question, because I got distracted, but I want to make sure everyone looks at your social media, because I think what you guys are doing is awesome. What are the next steps? What are your vision and growth for the future? So
we actually recently just signed a lease to we're opening up in a food hall in Edgewater Public Market. It's about 2 blocks away from Sloan's Lake in Edgewater, Colorado, right off of Sheridan Boulevard. So basically it's going to be like an equivalent to Stanley Marketplace and Avanti F&B, just kind of combined into one. So there's going to be some cool local shops in there, and there's going to be bars, and there's going to be a food hall, and there's going to be there's a rooftop patio with a stage that's overlooking downtown Denver. So our next step is actually we're in the process of getting ready to open up that location.
And so how are you going to... So you'll still run the food truck, I assume?
Yes.
And so this will be a complimentary, not really brick and mortar. It's more like how do they work? Are they open all year round? Explain us a little bit what the food hall is and how the concept works, because it's the first time we've actually talked about it on one of the podcasts, but lots of these are popping up everywhere. I want to talk about this in thorough detail.
Sure,
so
they're getting really popular. So basically, a food hall is kind of an opportunity so it will look like a mall food court. But it's basically, it lets businesses like food trucks, come in and bring their concept into a brick and mortar type location to try out for the general public before they decide to take the next step and maybe open a restaurant. So what you see is a lot of basically food truckers moving their concept from a food truck inside this food hall to serve, more people. So that, there's like alcohol present and there's shopping present. And it's just a really cool, popular idea that's been happening a lot lately. For anyone that's ever been to Avanti F&B in Highlands Ranch area, it's basically just all food hall. There's a bar in there with a brewery, and they just basically, they bring in new people about every year or every 2 years to try out their concept before they take the next step with it. And so this new location, Edgewater Public Market, is, I have some good relationships with some other food truckers in town, and a lot of them are moving their concept into there as well. So basically, we will be running both businesses, the food truck and the food hall, out of one location out of there. Does that kind of answer the question about
I love this. My mind is going wild, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if someone actually did this concept and provided the commissary for the food trucks in one location? You guys,
that's exactly what's happening.
And so that's what they're doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's quite it's very well thought out.
It's actually funny, when we met the developer of the project a year ago, I asked him, can I park my food truck here? And he's like, well, I don't know. We haven't really thought about that. And I was like, I promise you, if we can't park our food truck here, I can't do it. I can't be in two different places at once. You have to give me access. So he actually took what I said, took it to the developers and everything, and came back to me and said, okay, yeah, we figured out a way. We talked to the city about how food trucks can be parked here, how you can have, get your fresh water, dump your gray water.
Yeah. Because that's important, and dump your grease and everything else.
Oh, yeah, everything's going to be there. So our food truck will be parked on site, and we'll be doing the prepping for the food truck and the food hall all in one location.
And that's set to open mid-August, late August, early September. They're not quite sure yet.
Unless there's delays, but yeah, they're talking about August.
Yeah, I love that because, and Deborah and I are involved in food truck commissaries in other locations, but that's really, and not to plug us, because I try not to do that because it's about you guys, but that is what it really is the next step for food trucks, is how to give you guys not only a commissary and location, but a place where you can display your food for the public.
Right.
And people can come together, but also have your mobile business go out into the world. Mm-hmm. And, it's, in bringing your food to the people, but also allowing people to have one place they can go to find it. I think it's a good hybrid model to the restaurant industry. And like any industry, we adapt and we grow. And this is a logical step, in my opinion.
I think people are getting nervous these days about committing so much money to a brick and mortar location, because it's something like 90% of restaurants all fail in the first year. And it's like, once that happens, it's like your life is almost over. I mean, your entire life is put into this brick and mortar location. These food halls, I mean, while their leases, are a little bit on the higher side, you're not committing your entire life to this. If it doesn't work out for somebody, their life isn't over. And I think that's why this concept is getting so popular now. More people are willing to take a chance and open these food hall locations rather than opening a giant brick and mortar restaurant, that has to seat 100 people and be open 7 days a week and get liquor licensing. And, it's a very, very complicated process. And I think, when you combine, everyone in the food hall aspect, where it's like, okay, someone else is worrying about the electrical and the gas on the building, someone's worrying about the liquor licensing and all that stuff, and then we're just worried about the food aspect, and then someone else worries that they bring in a janitorial crew to clean up the whole thing. It just works out so much better for everyone.
Well, and I think you're going to see more of this similar concept with the public market. I think it's key. And the other beauty of it, if there's multiple of them, you can have more than one food trucks and more than one location, and sort of, you kind of form this hub and spoke network of locations. So if you decide you want another food truck, but there's another public market, say in Centennial, bad example because I don't know where you'd put it, or where there's a building, but just as an example, you could have a truck there and a location there, as well as your location and truck in Edgewater, and have multiples if you wanted more trucks, or you both decided to get into it or whatever. And that's a little bit hard, but it's better than trying to manage 2 restaurants.
Yeah.
And coming from designing and building, we had a subsidiary that designed, built, and did restaurant equipment supplies for 10 years until we finally closed it down about 2 years ago. But the thing is restaurants aren't making money anymore. Because why? Because it's too much overhead to run them. It's too much time.
It's crazy.
It's too much overhead. And when there's a swing in the market or a swing in customers, you can't take it somewhere else.
Right, exactly.
You're committed to this asset that's stuck in the ground, and that makes it difficult. So the beauty of food trucks and what you're talking about is that you can circulate food within them, so people can use it as a leaving point, but you can also move the food truck also to supplement.
Right,
it.
That's why I told the guy it's so important to me to be able to run the food truck at the same time, because I need to stay loyal to the customers I have in other parts of the city. I don't want to lose those customers.
Yeah.
Not to mention the breweries. We have a couple breweries we really love.
I love the breweries we go to. I love the customers that we have, and I can guarantee I'd get some backlash if I told my customers, in Centennial, I'm not coming to Centennial anymore because I'm too busy over here. They'd probably be pretty upset with me because they can't get their lobster fix, but we reassured everybody that knows about this that the truck will be operational. It might be a little bit slower the first month just because we're going to get used to the whole food hall thing, making sure we got all our ducks in a row there and everything's okay. But we will be fully armed and operational all year round.
Well, and I don't know the other laws in the other state because I'm not in the alcohol business, but I love what Colorado has done. You have these breweries, but they don't serve food. There's all these breweries that have popped up, and then there becomes their synergistic relationship between the food trucks and the breweries all over Colorado. And if people don't know, I think I probably mentioned on other podcasts, but I can't throw a stone 2 miles without hitting 12 microbreweries around me here.
It's crazy, and they're all so good too.
Yeah. And just as an example, I can't imagine who doesn't like beer and lobster. I'm from the East Coast. That's what everyone does. Whether it's a lobster bake or whatever, there's always beer and kegs and beer with it. So I think it's incredible. But there's also this awesome synergistic relationship where the breweries don't have to worry about food, and they get to rotate the food that they offer,
and that's what keeps customers coming into them. Also they're amazing beer, but also people get different food options. I feel like that's very, very important to the breweries, and I feel like it's just as important to us to be able to move around to different breweries as well. I feel like the relationship between breweries and food trucks is, it's so important. I feel like it's just as important for us to bring business to them, just like it's just as important for them to bring business to us.
Yeah, and both of you benefit. So, it's a great concept, and it allows for more entrepreneurialism, in my opinion, and more small businesses and more people to benefit. So not enough states do it, in my opinion, and not enough cities do it. And I wish more cities did what Colorado was doing. And I really hope more cities doing what you're talking about, the public market also is, another synergy is there. Here, you all can benefit, you all bring people together, but you also can take care of your food trucks there. And in my opinion, it's a healthier, safer environment for food. Being in the food environment that I'm in, I'm like, it's such an important key. And and we want food to be safer for sure, because we don't want people to get sick. So there's that. This episode's been awesome because I've learned. I just feel like we've gone in so many directions, but it's been a learning experience. So that's obviously.
I could talk about food and beer all day. Yeah, especially my own business too.
I think I just really like what you're saying in the rotation in the breweries and what's going on here in Colorado. They talked about the growth in Colorado, and everyone's going to be like, oh, it's the marijuana industry. Yes, that's true, and I think that's awesome because that is a lot of small business entrepreneurs as well.
Don't know if you see too many food trucks parked in front of dispensaries, but it might not be a bad idea.
I know, and as we see marijuana go somewhat in the direction like Amsterdam, where they actually are coffee shops or lounges where you can buy it and use it,
Yeah.
or smoke it or whatever you want, or eat it, or however the many uses are. And I think the edible industry in marijuana is going to be huge. So as a food entrepreneur, I'm very excited about that. And even just CBD oils and stuff like that. But to your point, I think once we start marrying the lounge to marijuana like they do in Amsterdam, which I think is a freaking incredible concept, by the way, the way Amsterdam does it. I mean, I love it, and I think it's a cool way of doing it, that we're going to need food trucks there, because we don't want food in there because it's like smoking cigarettes, but if you want to look at it that way. But how cool would it be to marry the relationship and marry the food truck relationship with, the shops? And
it's
I think
crazy because, Denver has, the 420 festival every year. And I mean, the amount of food trucks that go to this festival is like ungodly. There's something like 100 food trucks that go, because there's like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people there. And the city actually charges the food trucks quite a bit of money to be there, but it's like, the relationship between marijuana and food trucks could be this is the same as, the breweries and the food trucks too. It'd be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah.
And if it does.
Well, and I'm going to totally go off on a tangent, but I feel like the deregulation of food, the deregulation of the beer to do microbreweries, and now we're talking deregulation of marijuana, like it's really... The city's growing and business is growing in Denver because of it.
Yeah.
And there a lot of sub-industries are benefiting from it for sure. But what we're seeing here is more entrepreneurs like yourself, and room to grow, and the synergies that can happen around them. Like, I don't need to demand a brewery to have food in it. Why would I do that when there's all these people that can produce food and rotate, and everyone can make a better living doing it and go out and benefit people?
It truly is. It's a great relationship between, the breweries and the food trucks. It's just beneficial to everybody. And like we said before, the customers love that they can go to their favorite brewery and, order something different every night. Or every other night, however often they go, every Friday, every Saturday. I think it's just such a cool thing,
Yeah.
And, I definitely know, I know the breweries appreciate us because we have quite a following, that follows us, wherever we go. And we bring in a lot of, customers to them as well. So those breweries definitely love having us.
I want to give one more plug before I forget. I have some other questions, but what is the Dumb Friends League? I think it's important. I know what it is, but I want the audience to know, because I want to give publicity to it, because I think what you guys are doing over there is really freaking incredible, especially as an animal lover. So
the Dumb Friends League's in Denver. It's an open admission shelter. I've been there for 5 years. It's an organization that I really strongly believe in. What we do as an organization is absolutely incredible. We're there for every animal, anytime they can come in. We offer not to make this really sad, but euthanasia services for the public, for people that can't afford to take them to a vet, as well as people that are losing their homes or, losing their jobs and they can't afford to keep their animals. We're there to provide a safe space for their animals and care for them, and to put them up for adoption. And I've worked in multiple positions. I've done adoptions. I'm in pet admissions now, and I just really believe in the league and our views for the future.
I grew up on a horse farm, and so animals have always been part of my life. And my parents rescue animals in and things like that, and dogs. And it is, I can't even imagine what it's like on that level, because just the attachment and the emotional, I mean, they truly are the most unconditional lovers, animals. I mean, it's kind of this crazy thing, and we could learn a lot from them. And I don't know why, but they have a love for us as human beings, and they can teach us a lot. And I just think what you guys are doing is incredible. So social media, website, how do people donate if they can donate?
So ddfl.org is the Dumb Friends League website. You can donate through there. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram that they post, adoption stories, and also like if we have any kind of adoption specials and things like that. I love the organization so much.
You need a Dumb Friends Lobster, maybe. That would help promote it as one of the caricatures that you guys are working on.
Not to mention we have 3 dogs and 3 hamsters from the Dumb Friends League.
Yeah. I used to love hamsters, by the way. It's a weird thing. That's how I did my science projects. I had 3 hamsters, and I built a maze with my dad, and they were awesome. But then they all escaped, and the dog and the cat got them, which is sad. But
they're crafty.
Yeah, they're maneuverable. They'll chew through the little plastic tubes and everything. I was amazed. But I think what you're doing is amazing. And, they're not just animals. They're, you can look at it as they are our friends, as you said. And I love the name for sure because... you can call them dumb, but in a lot of ways they're probably smarter than we are. There's no way. My dog knows he's going to get a belly rub when he comes and looks at me. Now, who's training who? He knows I'm going to walk where. It's like he knows he's going to get a biscuit. It's like who's the dumb one? I think he's got me trained more than
Mallory wants to jump in and say why it's called the Dumb Friends League.
Yeah, go ahead, tell us.
So people always ask. The Dumb Friends League was founded in 1910. Back then, the word dumb meant that you couldn't speak for yourself, and so for the longest time our views were speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. It's a name that's very well known and recognized throughout the country, but we definitely don't think animals are dumb. We love them all.
Well, that's sure. Actually I'm glad you said that because it's interesting how terms change meaning. People. Yeah, I want you to repeat that just so the audience hears it. I think it's an important thing.
Sure. So the Dumb Friends League was founded in 1910. The word dumb back then meant that you couldn't speak for yourself. And so our motto for a very long time was speaking for those who can't speak for themselves, which is what we've carried through. It's not that we think animals are dumb. We actually love them unconditionally. The people that I work with are incredible. They all have the same views, and the amount of compassion that we show is pretty incredible.
And I think it's important. We do Motivational Mondays on this podcast, but I think what you just did was something amazing for everyone, is that sometimes our understanding of things and the way we perceive them is not exactly what they are. And I just did it exactly. And so I think, wow, you just blew my mind. You actually might have just made my day, because I think that's incredible that I had no idea actually, and I'd heard of it before and everything like that, but just the explanation and being able to tell everyone in the audience and explain something and throw a fact out there, that's pretty amazing. So thank you. And I know we're off a food topic, but we do this to give back, Deborah and I, and we do this to help other entrepreneurs learn from one another. But I think what you're doing from a giving standpoint and you guys are doing over there is incredible. So I want to make sure if you guys want to donate to the Dumb Friends League. And just especially if you didn't know what dumb really meant, I think you should donate $20 right now. So I will put a link on the podcast notes. I'm going to go donate money because I feel like I should, because I just got knowledge and she gave it to me for free, but I'm willing to pay for it for sure. So I'm going to go talk to my business manager and we'll get that done.
It's a good tax write-off.
Yeah, it is. And so I actually really thankful that you agreed to come do this. And Mallory wasn't going to get on the microphone at first, so she's come a long way just in the hour and 15 minutes we've been here and been recording. But I wanted to say thank you because we always talk about food and stuff and giving back, but we don't talk about things like that. And interestingly, I'll give a plug. We've actually going to record a dog biscuit company that does all natural dog biscuits, because dog food, and people don't realize, dog and cat food has to live under the same regulations as food, and same inspections and quality is important and things like that. So, where it comes from, to me, is important being in food. So
it's actually kind of interesting because a friend of mine's mom owns a dog biscuit company. She started incorporating CBD into the dog biscuits to help, dogs that, animals that are in pain, kind of a natural way. So, we were talking about the marijuana thing earlier, and it's like, God, it's even making its way into the dog food industry now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it helps with strokes for the dogs and pain, and I mean, same with humans and PTSD and trauma and like they do with veterans in it. And I haven't released the episode yet, so the audience hasn't heard it as we're recording this, but they will when this release. But it is becoming a big thing, and we're going to see a lot of CBD
Yes.
integrated in a lot of things and a lot of mixing of Eastern and Western medicine and a lot of integration into food and stuff like that. It excites me, and I think food in general is in a new revolution, but when we mix in the revolution that we're seeing with marijuana, which I'm all for, there is, instead of taxing it and taking all this time to fight it, let's embrace it and see what we do with it and see what the benefits are. And we talk about this a little bit. One of the benefits in food deserts is because marijuana has become so popular and we're learning to grow it through hydroponics and aquaponics, that the cost of growing food indoors has become so much cheaper because there's all these people buying up the supplies to do indoor marijuana farming. So something happening, we're going to start seeing food deserts have indoor farming, and that's a direct result of the boom in the marijuana industry and the legalization in this country. So I think it's important. So let's get back to the Rock N Lobster roll, because I wanted to give that plug because I didn't want to forget.
It's very important.
No, it is, and it's very important to me, and I'm glad we talked about it, and I'm definitely going to ask more questions after the episode. And
she has the hardest job amongst both of us.
and maybe, we can talk about it, but I'd like to actually maybe just do an episode, and it's totally off of food, but I'll make it part of the food entrepreneurs, because I think part of what we're doing is giving back. I'd like to do just an episode on the Dumb Friends League as a special episode out of our normal pattern, as like a special weekend episode on giving back, because we're seeing people do that. I know one of the things is like there's also the mac and cheese truck, or mac and noodles, and they're doing the mac and cheese 5K to raise money for good things. And so I like what that's doing, and I think generally entrepreneurs have a good heart, especially now. I wouldn't say always, but now we're seeing that giving back is part of it. So if you'd be interested and you can talk to whoever, I'd love to do just an episode on you guys here sometime soon. So, okay, now I'm really off topic. But anyway, so what are, on the food truck, I'm going to go straight to the question. What are the things you love doing and what are the things you hate doing, both of you, because you both work on it? And do you actually have one more question before you answer that one? Do you have other employees, or is it just the two of you?
I do have another employee, and it's actually funny. He just started up with me about a month ago. We actually met in New York at the Culinary Institute of America, and we've been friends ever since. I started CIA in 2006, so we met 13 years ago, and we both just happened to be living in Colorado. I mean, he's got a wife and 2 kids and a third on the way now. He just started working with me about a month ago, so it's so cool, to have this guy with me. I mean, he's so talented, and his name's Greg. And I'm just really thrilled to have him aboard. He's just another great chef mind to have working with me. So, yes, I have one other employee.
Well, I was just thinking I was going to say this, and I'm back to the lobster name, and I do want to answer the question, but if you see Greg, you could give him a pound, and then I'm like, oh, what about 2 pounds the lobster? Bam, bam, like the old pounds, knuckle to knuckles, for those who can't visualize what I'm doing in the studio here. I just realized that I'm doing hand motions and no one knows what I'm saying. Anyway, it may not be a good one, but lobsters are about 2 pounds generally, aren't they? Or,
about 1 3/4 to 2 pounds.
Yeah. But I don't know. Give me some claw, dog. It's like
claw dog.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so what are the things you like and don't like doing? Both of you, because you both work on the food truck.
I mean, to me, the best part about the food truck is the fact that it's our thing. This is our restaurant. It's definitely a lot of work, but I'd much rather work harder for myself than work for anyone ever again. I mean, it's just, we just know that, we get out of it what we put into it. I know if I have to work 13, 14 hours a day, I'd rather work 13 to 14 hours a day for myself versus 8 hours on someone else's payroll. That's the thing I love about the most, is that, we created something out of thin air and made this, this big thing, and it just feels great, to be able to do that, and to also make great food at the same time, and to have people tell you, the food is fantastic. That's definitely my favorite part about the whole thing. There's not too much I don't enjoy about it. I'm happy waking up every morning, going to work. Winter is always tough. That's probably the not best part about it. Is when you have bomb cyclones, you have to miss 2 days of work because of it. Those aren't always the best things, but there's not too much I don't like about my job.
It's kind of like having a school day off, though, while you want to work.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like school's canceled.
We light a fire at home and just binge Netflix all day. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love that.
My favorite is, I actually just really love seeing people's reactions to the food. I love when they are like, this is my first time on the truck, and somebody just told me about this, and then they come back and they're like, that's the best thing I've had, ever. Best lobster roll ever. Or I'm from New England, and that's better than home. Andrew actually had some guy, he tried our food at Copper Kettle on a Friday, and then the next day he was waiting on the phone to call into a radio show about restaurants to gush about how good the food was. And that was his first time experiencing the food truck, and I think that's so cool.
The Warren Barn restaurant show, it's on every Saturday. I don't know the guy's name exactly, but people call in and talk about restaurants they liked or don't like. It was actually funny when I tuned in, there was 3 callers back to back just called in to bash these restaurants. I was like, this is awful. This is so bad. It's like Yelp for radio. I don't like it.
Well, it's interesting, but one of the things I've learned being in food for so long is more people speak about what they don't like than what they do. The people that love it generally don't rave about it because they just keep coming back.
Which is extremely unfortunate for our business.
Yeah.
I mean, for the restaurant industry in itself. Yeah. They say if one person likes your food, they'll maybe tell one other person, but if one person hates your food, they'll tell 10 other people.
Yeah, it's exactly.
But I don't feel like we see a lot of people like that. We just get really great followers. They follow us everywhere. We had a guy make a YouTube video. He was from Connecticut. He came all the way down from Castle Rock and put it on YouTube about trying the lobster roll for the first time. It's just really, I think that's my favorite, is just seeing people's reactions to what Andrew's creating.
So do you do special events and catering and things like that? And
we've done a couple weddings for some people. We have done some special events as well. The catering is kind of always the most nerve-wracking thing. If you're doing someone's wedding, it's a lot of pressure to make sure that you make someone's wedding day perfect. Yeah. I mean, I just got married in October, and I wanted it to be perfect, And so I feel like it's a lot of pressure to make, if someone wants, spending a lot of money on, 200 lobster rolls, you're like, man, that's a lot of pressure. But no, weddings are fun. The brides and grooms have always been really cool and really nice, and we have done people's birthday party. They've thrown lobster-themed birthday parties at their houses, and we've driven out to people's houses and parked the food truck, and people have come and ordered from the food truck from the house. And they this one couple the wife made a lobster cake for the husband. It's just so, there's lobster balloons everywhere. Yeah. This is so cool.
That's interesting. Gosh, we were from the East Coast, but there was a game, and I can't remember what the game actually was called, but we'd give people lobster bellies, and it'd be slapping each other in the belly as hard as you can until it was red like a lobster. But
yeah, I remember the game.
Yeah, so
as a kid.
And so I think that's great. So I think, if people are interested in the Colorado, Denver area and doing that, I encourage them to reach out to you. And I can't say it on the air just yet, but there is maybe something I want to talk to you guys about after, for sure. Mm-hmm. And before I forget, I better say it out loud. And so what do you guys feel that, do you feel that, things are going well? Do you feel that your following's going well? I mean, you just got married, so how is that going? How are you juggling the relationship? To be perfectly dive right into your personal life.
No worries. Business is great. Our married life is wonderful. I mean, we're both just so busy all the time that we, like I said, we really treasure every moment we have with each other. We know that, my wife understands that growing a business takes a lot of time, and it takes me away from her a lot, and she's really understanding and really, really supportive, which is crucial to, operating and growing the business. She knows that I have to be away from home a lot, but, Yeah, I mean, everything's great for us. We have no complaints.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good attitude, seriously, because sometimes things are going to get frustrating and take time away, and having that attitude is huge. And one of the other things I want to talk about is, and I thought about it earlier and I got sidetracked, but I think it's amazing that you actually make sure your lobster's flown in and you cook it right away. Because even on the East Coast, people get the lobster in and it'll sit for days. So freshness is a relative term in terms of seafood.
The most important aspect of the job is the freshness of the seafood. It's definitely that is where our biggest overhead comes in, is making sure the lobster's fresh, flown in right away. I mean, from the time that I call my distributor to the time it's, out the door is less than 24 hours. So it's really, I might call them, at 2 p.m. Denver time, and it's at the door at 9 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, people talk about sustainable and local. When it comes to seafood, the 24-hour period, if you fly it in and it's held properly into temperature, it's some amazing stuff going on there. And I think it's important.
All the lobsters and seaweed and right out of the ocean, it's so cool how it comes in. They come in and they're flopping around and jumping around, and
they don't know
they're lively.
Yeah.
So.
They just may know they're going to get cooked soon, but I doubt it. I mean, but I think that's incredible what you're doing, and I think the concept is amazing. So I really thank you guys for being on. And so, part of what we're doing on this podcast is also bringing you guys back in 8 to 10 months to see how your journey's going. And so obviously that gets Edgewater public market open, and, around that time, and we'll make sure we stage it for after that point, because obviously your story, you learned a lot at the beginning of a food truck, so I don't even need to ask you what you would go back and tell yourself if you would do it again. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but
definitely wouldn't go to that first guy again.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, what are some of the things you would wish you could go back 2 years and tell yourself, outside of the food truck debacle and outside of the grand opening? What are some of the things you wish you knew outside of that?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, because it just kind of came at us so quickly. I don't know.
I think I would go back and tell Andrew to trust his instincts. I think he definitely, he has talent for days, but he was very unsure of if this was going to work, and I had to kind of just be like, no, I think this is a great idea. This is, obviously you already have all these Facebook followers, and so I think trusting his instincts and believing in himself is probably the biggest one to start with. I mean, he's there now for sure.
Yeah, what she said.
Well, I think it's so important, because and people don't realize this, and I'm going to say this and being like, what did you just say? But there is, when you have a relationship with someone, and Deborah and I have it, is we're willing to fail together. And if we fail, we'll just figure it out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that bond, generally you don't fail. Because you're like, okay, we'll figure it out, and you're willing to work at it, and you already have that relationship where you know where the bottom is, so you kind of never go there, because you're like, okay, we know it's there. We agree we'll be okay if we get there, so there's no fear of going there. And without the fear of going there, you don't focus on it, and therefore it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And so I like that you guys just said that for sure, and it's something when I mentor people, definitely I tell them, because I'm like, you focus on it, it's going to happen, because you're going to spend your energy on it. And if you don't focus on it, and you already know that it's okay if it happens, then this miraculous thing happens, especially in relationships and when you're entrepreneurs. So I wanted to thank you guys again. I look forward to having you back on. I do want to really do the Dumb Friends League episode as a give back for sure, just because I think it's important, and I want to share it with all of our listeners. And I think the world should know what you guys are doing, really.
It was fun to come share our story and talk about it. Yeah, we don't get an opportunity to do this too much, and it's our first time ever being on a podcast, so yeah, we hope to do it again with you too.
Well, you're going to be on 2 and 3. I'm getting you guys signed up, so we're going to commit to do one for the Dumb Friends League, and then also I want to really get you guys back on and hear your story of progression.
Can you go mobile with do it live?
Yeah, well, we will go mobile. We will be mobile, actually. And actually, we just opened our second studio in Milledgeville, Georgia, because we spend a lot of time there, and then we have figured out how to bring the podcast with us, because as any business grows and you guys learn things, when you become popular, you're doing something right, a lot of people start listening and are curious, and more people want it and stuff like that. And then you have people that want you to bring it to them, and that takes effort. It's like a food truck. I have to physically go there. But I'm like, at first I'm like, why would I want to do that? But I'm like, okay, if I can bring it and show the experience to people and actually get people in their environments, I would love to do something with Edgewater. And if you have people that want to be on the podcast, I'll share anyone's story. So if you want to share with
Absolutely.
people and
I'm all about supporting, the local businesses, especially food trucks. We're such a, chef-driven business. We all work for ourselves, and I think there's so much more passion coming from these food truck owners because it's them on a plate. They're putting their heart and soul into these, these food trucks and these businesses. Some people look at it as like, oh, it's just a food truck, but it really is, this is our livelihood, this is our lives, and we put everything we have, just to be able to serve you guys, for 4 or 5 hours a day. We sacrifice, time with our families, our lives. It's definitely you have to have a lot of passion, and food truckers are definitely passionate people. So thank you for supporting us as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important because your stories are important, because it's not what we see on TV. It's not a food truck race across the country and people that don't have any food truck experience suddenly given a food truck. A lot of food trucks, you guys have been in the industry. You have background in being a chef. You have experience in food in some way, or marketing, and people don't realize the amount of time and effort it really takes, or have an appreciation for it. And I think that's important too. So, people think, veterans, which, hey, thank you for serving our country, but I also thank all the entrepreneurs, because they create jobs, they create economies, and they're making this country and the world, for all the entrepreneurs that listen and all over, you're making the world a better place, whether we know it or not. We're heroes in our communities as entrepreneurs. We create jobs, we move money, and we create economies. So please share it. I'd love to have any of the breweries or anybody that in the industry pass on the word. I will take them all, because I'm like, the more we can get on here and the more stories we can share, and then have more and more people back on, I feel like there's a message out there for people of hope and inspiration and motivation, and lift people's spirits. And it's like we're really onto something. And we talk about it sometimes on the podcast. We talk about the greatest generation being World War II people in the United States, but I think it might be us or the generation after us, because we're creating such an entrepreneurial world. And the greatest generation doesn't have to be because of war or what happened or hard work. It could be because we just end up doing what's right by everyone, by creating business opportunities and people to learn, and jobs, and supporting small businesses and communities, and really focusing on the people. So it's a little bit of my hope and dreams. It may be far off. We'll see what happens, but it's good to have them. So thank you guys again for being on and supporting my dream of doing this, and other small businesses, and willing to share your story so they can learn.
And if I can say something to all the young chefs out there that might be listening, this is something I wish someone always would have told me. When I got started, it's always, don't get flustered. Keep your ears and your eyes and your everything open. Keep your mouth shut, but ask questions when it's important. Don't get frustrated. And if you have passion, just keep it going. Because I know in the beginning it's rough, and the money is always in there in the beginning. But if you are passionate, it'll come to you. I mean, because it's really, really hard in the beginning. You'll have people screaming in your face, and just sit there and take it. Be humble and just take it, and then move on.
I love that. And a little bit of the food truck thing. I mean, sometimes, and Deborah and I talk about this, sometimes we don't get what we want, we get what we need. And we need to be humbled, and we need to be grateful, and we need to learn lessons a hard way, and sometimes it hurts financially or emotionally or ego. But it's often, as entrepreneurs, we get it a lot more, I feel, than other people, because life is constantly hard knocks, but you grow so fast, and it's so amazing. And I can just, 2 years, you guys, I mean, it's phenomenal, right? Like, look where you are. It's pretty awesome. And you probably wouldn't trade your life for anyone's in the world. I
wish I could go back to myself 15 years ago and say, this is where you're going to end up. I know it's hard, but just keep on going and don't give up your passion, and you're going to be in a really good place. there are times, in the industry where, you're not paid more than $12, $13 an hour, and you struggle to make the rent and everything. But if you stay passionate about it and just focus on making good food, then, it'll come to you eventually.
Yeah, and there's no overnight success, right? You had to learn all of those experiences to be
business.
where you are. Yeah.
Unless you were born with a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's no success overnight in this business, you're right.
Yeah, and I love it because the disadvantages in food and beverages and nutrition, at least that I found with everyone that we work with and all the entrepreneurs we help, it's an advantage because that disadvantage forces you to do things that you would never do and find belief in yourself and hardship and mental toughness and things that you doubted yourself before. You have to face them. It's the craziest thing, and that's where I'm like, the greatest generation. We have more entrepreneurs and small businesses entering the world than ever, and we're all learning these lessons. Mm-hmm. So I think we're really going to help people in the long run. So I thank you guys for what you do.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping animals, because that is important to me. Growing up on a horse farm, I got to tell you, it's there was a time in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, if only people could be like the animals in my life, And there was a time that I liked the animals more than I liked people, but I've come to appreciate both differently in the most respect. So I do love people, and I love interviewing and hearing the stories. It's just understanding that everyone's different, I think, is an important part of life. So
100%.
Thank you guys again. This is Justin.
Thank you.
This is Justin, the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. And if you like what we're doing, please share it with your friends. Everyone's coming here, volunteering their time, doing it for free. Share about the Dumb Friends League. Donate money, like I said. We're doing it for free. It's the only time I'm going to ask you guys to actually put your hand in your pocket for money. Donate money to the Dumb Friends League. What they're doing is a good thing. Other than that, all we ask is that you share with your friends and your family. Promote what they're doing. Share the love. Tell people stories. Go eat at the Rock N Lobster roll because it's awesome. I hear. I'm going to go do it soon. I should probably eat at the places before I bring them on the podcast. Hindsight. But raving reviews, seriously. And I don't want to get off on a track as I'm ending the episode. But your reviews are amazing, and you guys are doing a really good job. And
thank you.
You should be proud. Seriously,
we love our customers very much. Absolutely.
Yeah. So. They have great customers. You guys are doing great. I'm going to be one of them soon because I know Deborah is going to want us to go there and try a whoopie pie as well. The wicked whoopie pies. Oh, man. And so thank you guys for listening in. Everyone have a great day, and I appreciate all you guys do. If you want to reach out to Rock N Lobster Roll and help them with a name for their lobster, you can check out their social media feeds. It's Rock N Lobster on Instagram and Facebook, And you can reach me at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs on Instagram and Facebook and pass it on. But as we get off, you guys want to just tell us your website and your social media handles one more time?
Sure. So the website is www.rockandlobsterroll.net. Facebook is just the tag Rock and Lobster Roll. Instagram, I believe, is Rock and Lobster Roll. And Twitter is Rock and Lobster Roll without the O after the R.
Oh, wow, that was pretty good. I couldn't remember all that.
I've had to say it quite a few times.
So thank you guys again. I know I'm super full of gratitude, but I really love this episode. So everyone listening in, again, please share it. And this is Justin the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast, and everyone have a great day. Bye.